What was that noise? Hey, we had some thunder outside. I think we're going to have a winter storm here in a couple of minutes. Well, hello, everybody. Good evening. It's what, 8:30? Yeah, 8:30. Wednesday evening, time for another live stream. Got Stock Explorer saying good morning. Brian's in here saying next up is Spring of the Frogs. Yeah, it's coming really, really fast, isn't it? Hello, Vicky. Vicky says, finally got the Apios americana tubers. Those are the ground nut. It's a tuber that produces a nice little vine that goes up into the canopy layer. Very nice stuff. Let's see. Went through all of them, picked out the... Oh, you're too sweet. Let's see. Sassafras Red said he'd see me all over. I ran into him a little while ago. Let's see. Which nursery? The one that sent me... Where did I put them? See, I'm burying stuff here. One that sent... these. Oh, different. Okay, so you're talking about a different nursery. Had they order up 100 plants at a minimum. Yeah, this one, they didn't have live plants. I would have probably rather had live plants because this is a seed, and I have to experiment with growing it. Starting an unfamiliar plant from seed is always a challenge. But this is the Indian breadroot. Small package of tiny little seeds that belong to a wildflower that has not grown out here in I don't know how long. Well, probably since the buffalo stopped wandering freely, I guess. I don't know how hard it's going to be to incorporate this thing, but hopefully it'll work. All right. I don't know if I can get these on the camera. Sorry, kitty. Got a little kitty up at my feet. These are like little itsy bitsy tiny little beans because this particular wildflower is a legume. So I can get the camera on there. So they look kind of like little bitty bean seeds, huh? So we're going to try to get these to germinate. Oh, we're going to try to get those to germinate sometime this year. And hopefully I might actually be able to produce a few to export to elsewhere. Because right now there's nobody that I know of that has this particular plant, the Indian breadroot, for sale anywhere inside of the United States. It's all Canada. Anyway, that's going to be exciting. Let's see. What did we do today other than get out there and make a mess? I went out and planted some Allegheny chinkapin trees today. That was fun. And I misplaced my envelope. This came in. I'll find it later. Oh, maybe that's it. Okay, there we go. I planted Allegheny chinkapin trees today. And I pruned a Morris rubra, red mulberry that we had growing in the backyard. It was one of the ones that the birds just sort of kind of flew by and left the seed behind, and it sprouted, and I didn't get it cut back. And after it grew up for a little bit, maybe pruned it a little bit back, but didn't really pay much attention to it. And then this past year, it made fruit, and I looked over and went, oh, yeah, that's a mulberry tree, and it's got fruit. So we tried some of it, and it was very, very good, very sweet. So we pruned it and decided we're going to go ahead and treat it like a tree that we plan to keep. Sorry, kitty. I'm dropping stuff on you, aren't I? I've got our outdoor kitty inside with me tonight because it's supposed to get really cold out, and we no longer have a floor furnace that he can curl up next to. He used to go under the house whenever it got cold, but but he can't do that now, so he's come inside. So I pruned up this Morris rubra, red mulberry tree today, and I went ahead and took the cuttings from the end of it. I got a dozen of them here. And at the moment, I'm in the midst of sterilizing some peat moss, and I'm not going to do the pot. Let me try this again. I'm not going to do the potting up right now on the live stream because I get my hands dirty and I have to handle the mouse and everything else. But we'll put some of this rooting hormone on them and see if we can get some mulberry trees started. Vicky saying, beautiful day in Arkansas, around 70 degrees. Yeah, it was nice. And now it's getting ready to get cold. Hear the thunder going. Mary made it. Hi, Mary. Okay, so the one, yeah, this prairie garden seeds. Prairie turnip is one of the words for it. It's Cellaria esculenta or Indian breadroot. But yeah, I will not lose the seeds. There's Carl. Hi, hi, hi. How are the shrimp doing? The shrimp are hiding for the most part. Okay. So whenever I go back there at night, if I've got the light turned off, if I have the overhead light turned on, and it's really dark, and I walk up with the flashlight, I can sneak up there and go boop and look in there, and they'll dart off because they don't like the light being shined down on them. They're very skittish, but they're still doing okay. And hopefully we'll have lots and lots and lots and lots of shrimp here very soon. We got Amy with us tonight from Cray's Family Gardens. Ken Jenny's showing up as well. Wow, we've got a crowd. Let's see. Yeah, Mickey, we're getting that wet weather here in the next couple of minutes. I'm hearing the thunder for it. And when I was out just a few minutes before we got started, it was already starting to sprinkle a little bit. So we are probably going to get at least some cold rain. Hopefully we won't get sleet and ice with it. Hey, that's neat. Okay, so John said tried prairie turnip last year. Most of the seeds germinated, but you lost them because of the not an adequate supply of water. Though that's good news. It means that if they want to germinate easily, then I can probably get them to grow. My only concern is trying to germinate them. If I couldn't get them to germinate, that would be a problem. So breadroot, yeah. It's a blue prairie wildflower, nitrogen fixing, produces an edible tuber, and the leaves kind of look like if you've ever seen lupine leaves. That's what they look like, kind of these little 5 elongated leaves coming out. Ken says got a dozen chicken star smells. Nice, cool. So you haven't got to harvest any yet, huh? Awkward news is way too cold down in southern New Mexico today. We don't know what to do with the snow or cold. Well, take the advantage to get your redbud tree planted while it's still in its dormancy. That way you can wake up whenever it starts to warm up for you. Here in another week or two, it would seem. I mean, other than this next 3 days that we're going to have cold temperatures, it looks like spring is well on its way. And I keep on looking at the buds on these cuttings. I know typically you're supposed to wait until spring's officially started, but I really wanted to get that pruning done now because the tree had never been pruned or shaped or tended or anything before, so it was just a wild woolly mess. And I made a video about it, and I don't know how well it's going to turn out in the edit, but I did shoot the video. We'll see how it turns out. But whenever I look at these, I swear sometimes I think I see a little bit of green right there at the base of the bud where the tree is just getting ready to go boom and break out of its dormancy. And we're not quite done with February yet. We're halfway through February, and our last frost really isn't until about mid-April. No, early April, but wait until about mid-April to be on the safe side. So Kimber's saying it's not going to stop raining until around midnight here. Whew. And Sasspress is wondering if Allegheny chinquapins are different from the ones that used to grow in the Ozarks. I'm not entirely certain that's a different plant. There might be some like regional variations. It's kind of like whenever you see an eastern spiderwort and a prairie spiderwort and an Ohio spiderwort, and you put them all side by side, you realize you're looking at the same plant. Pretty much. So hopefully they do well here. If they're going to do well in the Ozarks, they should do well down here in the flatland, I hope. Knock on wood. All that good stuff. So you had some rain bands that passed a little bit to the south of here, hit you guys. Let's see. Ken said, plenty of chinkapins up home in Virginia. Got pricked 1,000 times as a kid. But I wanted to get, yeah, they have kind of like a burr around that nut as it's forming. So now we've got chinkapin and hazelnut and pecan, but I don't have any walnut. Could probably get away with having one somewhere, but I don't know. I've got let's see, an almond tree coming, Asian persimmon, and sweet cherry. Those are the other three trees that we've got coming in this year. Right now, we're just at the point where we're trying to just fill in spots here and there. I went out today and I looked at an air-layered peach tree that we started. I was thinking about trying to prune the top of the peach tree off so it can control that apical dominance, get it to bush out nicely. And I said, well, as long as hey Scott, I said, figure as long as I'm going to be pruning this tree, I may as well go ahead and get fancy with it. So I took my knife out and I cut a couple of bands around there, scraped the cadmium layer off, put a little bit of rooting hormone on it, wrapped a plastic wrap with peat moss on it and tied it off, and we got roots. So whenever I cut it away, I put it in the ground and it's still green. So I think we might actually have 2 peach trees now. Of course, one of them is a clone. So yeah, I'm doing a lot better. As you know, I had a pretty bad sinus infection through the first half of the winter. Still a little bit of sniffles, but for the most part, it's gone. For the most part. Okay, yeah. Sasspress was thinking about chinkapin oak. Yeah, there's a quercus that is called chinkapin oak, but the chinkapins we're talking about are castana or castegna or however you pronounce it. I'm a little bit shaky on the proper Latin pronunciation because I never can remember whether I'm supposed to be using ecclesiastical or scholastic Latin. Oh, hang on, back up. There we go. You're thinking quercus, the whatever that thing is, Muhlenbergi or something. Okay, Amy is saying, what time of the season did I do the air layering? I went ahead and did it as soon as I planted it, well, like right after I planted it, early in the springtime. You need to give it enough time for the part that you're separating to start to develop roots before winter comes. Because once winter comes, if it hasn't started to develop roots, you don't want to leave that bit hanging up there in the air. The cold will do it in. So as soon as that first bit of sap gets done running early in the spring, so after that first surge of spring, and as you start to go leaving spring, moving into summer, you should be able to slip the bark at that time and go ahead and get started with an air layer. And on all the pecan trees that we tried this year, we managed to get 2 that made roots that way. I don't think I mentioned it last week. I started to talk about it a little bit, but then I got sidetracked and I didn't finish saying what I wanted to do with those pecan trees that we air layered. Since they don't have a taproot that comes from whenever you plant the seed, it puts a taproot down. Since these are air layers and they don't have a taproot, the roots are going to wind up spreading out much more shallowly. They're going to be surface roots. So growing this into a big tree would be a bad idea because it won't have that really good, thick, deep root structure that one grown from seed would have. But if your intention is to take it and grow it as a bush or a shrub, well then, that's a different story. So I'm going to, if either of those 2 manages to survive the winter and is growing again come spring, I'm going to be attempting to train a pecan tree to grow as a bush. And we'll see how that turns out. Scott, are you even allowed to say that? I'm going to call the governor. Pecan trees are Texas's state tree. I don't think you're allowed to hate them, are you? I've been told some odd things though, like you're not allowed to cut a pecan tree down, or something of that nature. Can't sell one. Weird stuff like that. Well, okay, so it wouldn't be the Avers Bush pecan. It would just be, kind of a fun experiment. And I've seen them grow really, really small before. Whenever they're a seedling has gotten started in the understory, and it got enough light and it got enough nutrients that it kind of grows, but it never gets really all that big. So this little tiny pecan tree goes on for years and years and years. And we had one under the sycamore tree over there that had, a squirrel had taken the nut and climbed up the tree and dropped the nut and had just fallen right into the leaf litter at the base of the sycamore tree, right? So it's sitting in there, it sprouts. And so right next to the base of the sycamore tree, we had a pecan tree that was maybe about 3.5 to 4 foot tall tops. And before it finally said, "Okay, I've had enough of this, guys, I'm done," it managed to actually produce one nut, and it looked like a paper shell. So I don't know where that particular pecan came from, because this is before it was before we planted our pecan trees. So it had to have come from one of the other trees that was in the neighborhood. We had quite a few of them over there to the east of us before they put that the new highway spur through. Well, the toll road spur. Yeah, they put in a road next to us. We get to listen to the road noise, but it's a toll road, so we have to pay if we're going to use it. All right. And Amy just said the thing. Hang on. Before I get to that, Kimmer's confirming. Yeah, okay, you can't cut them down. And Scott said, had 12 of them. They were squirrel magnets and bagworm hotels. And bagworms is exactly the reason why I've got that picture up where it says, "Hi, Wren." I kind of wanted to brush on the craziness of the world today very, very briefly before going on. The Wren is kind of a nice little, I don't know, thing there. Wrens hunt bagworms. They hunt the webworms that infest pecan trees. And I've been working on trying to figure out how to get birds in that are going to take care of that particular pest problem. Because the way you deal with those webs ordinarily is either by using an oil pesticide on the base of the tree, usually twice a year, I think it is, to control that migration of the worm from the ground up the trunk of the tree, so where they begin building the nest. You could do that. Of course, that's pesticides, so you're dealing with a pesticide. And of course, the other one is to physically remove, to excise the webs and all the worms that's in it. You can cut them out, or you can get a propane torch like I have and burn them out. I've done both. The problem, of course, is after your tree gets to a certain height, if you're not maintaining your pecan trees as bushes, then they're going to reach a height where you can no longer easily get up there and treat the webworms in that way. So you need something else that's going to do it. And then at that point, the only thing that the orcharding business had to offer was, well, you can use the pesticide. And I don't want to use the pesticide, so I had to think about this. Okay, I need birds. They're going to come in. They're going to attack those webs. What's going to do it? And I discovered that wrens will actually attack them. And so I went around building up habitat, putting in brush piles as I'm waiting for my hedgerow to develop. Now, once the hedgerow is developed, it'll be nice and lush and thick, and the branches will come together and they'll provide cover that small birds like wrens and thrushes want. So they'll come and hang out in your yard. But in the meantime, I've built brush piles, and they like those. But here's the thing. Wrens are obligate insectivores. They don't eat seeds. I can't go and put milo or millet or sunflowers or safflowers or anything else out there, black thistle seed. None of that will work. It doesn't entice them. So the way we got them to come around is a little bit of a sneaky tactic called multi-species flocking. You see, we live in hawk territory, and hawks like to hunt smaller birds. Typically, the smaller birds will accomplish defending themselves by joining flocks. Large number of birds together, large number of eyes looking in all directions. If they see the predator coming, notice something odd, they can go ahead and scatter in a moment's notice. And that predator, not knowing which bird to focus on, should wind up being momentarily confused. And that one moment may be all that's necessary for all of the smaller birds, all the birds in the flock, to escape becoming lunch, at least today. Some birds do this only with members of the same species. Usually you see blackbirds doing this. The starlings and other blackbirds like to form big homogeneous flocks with just one type of bird. And whenever they do, these massive flocks can come rolling out of the fields where they've been eating spare, spent grains and things like that. And then when they arrive onto farms and orchards. They just settle on the ground like a black carpet, and just eat everything. Um, if you're trying to attract a wide variety of birds like we are, having a swarm of starlings or blackbirds is just a horrible thing to have happen, because there won't be anything left for everybody else. They will consume all the food that you have available. So the trick to getting birds to come and visit your property and eat your insects for you, but without attracting the blackbirds, is to make sure you do not have cracked corn or any cereal grains of any sort in your bird feeder. This is why we moved over to using safflower and sunflower exclusively. Nothing but safflower and sunflower goes into our bird feeder. As a result, the kind of birds that get attracted are things like the cardinals, the finches, house finches, goldfinches. We get the buntings, which are kind of like little miniature cardinals. We have both the indigo, the dark blue ones, and the painted bunnies that are every color of the rainbow. Like a little tropical bird here in Zone 7 that comes by in the spring, just long enough to come by and visit, and then they move off somewhere else. Those ones and the goldfinches don't stay in nest here, but the birds that do, they feed insects to the young. All of this sounds wonderful, right? But you're saying, hang on a second, Jason. You know, you just said wrens were obligate carnivores. They don't eat any of those seeds. So how is feeding these other birds going to help? How is that going to get a wren to come in? And here's the trick. Wrens and woodpeckers of all different varieties, which are also predominantly insectivores, like to join flocks with other birds, but they're not going to join a flock with blackbirds. Blackbirds are, well, um, they're the kind of creature that only wants to hang out with other members of the same kind, if you know what I'm saying. They're not really into very diverse groupings. So the wrens and the woodpeckers wind up now. Oh, it's starting to rain outside. I can hear it on the wood stove out there. So the wrens and the woodpeckers wind up joining these massive flocks with the other birds, and they especially like joining a group with the cardinal because he's bright red. So all of these different species of bird will come in. We'll have juncos, and we'll have chickadees, and we'll have cardinals, and we'll have the house finches. Right now, that's mainly what we get. Some doves coming in on the ground, and then here come the downy woodpeckers and the nuthatches and the wrens, which are all coming in not because there's anything really in that feeder that's enticing to them, but because they want the security of having that flock, that extra set of eyes to make sure that they stay safe. So as a result, we're, I think, 2, maybe 3 years into the bird feeding experiments. Really, we're 2 years dedicated. Like, we're making sure that we keep a population of birds around all the time. I let the bird feeder go empty long enough for them to pick up the seeds that get knocked onto the ground. And then whenever the ground is picked up, then I'll go ahead and refill the bird feeder. So there's always something going on there for them. Cost me about a bag of seed every year, a bag of sunflower, and I get 1 bag of safflower seed as well. That's a little bit expensive. It's about $26 for the bag. It's a 5-pound bag of safflower seed right now. So that mixture of 2 seeds is enough. Hopefully I'll be able to grow my own safflower. But those 2 seeds combined together attracts that kind of flock of birds that I know is going to eat my pests for me and feed them to their babies, and not attract the blackbirds that wanted to spoil everything and eat everything. But anyway, hey, we got Joe here. Of course, Amy was just mentioning there the bagworms. Joe Serrano's in the house with us. I didn't hear it. Howdy Gardens with us tonight. Good evening. Good evening. Everybody's saying hello to everybody tonight. Use spray paint flamethrowers to get rid of bagworm. That'll do it too. That's expensive. The flame weirder will do the trick. Yeah, burn them right out. All right. So Kimber was down there in Texas until recently, and apparently has run into this problem. A lot of pecan trees in people's yards, and if you want to remove the tree, you have to get a. Okay, so it's not that you can't just remove it; you have to get a permit to remove it. Ah, okay. Yeah. Had a garden saying wasper. Yeah, wasp will work on the bugs that occupy those nests. Pecans have a taproot from out. There is a reason why I have that one particular shovel that has a head on it about that long that goes down deep. It's so I can get those taproots up and out without damaging them. I'll lose some of the tiny roots at the bottom, but the taproot itself will remain intact and the tree will survive. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'll bet. Right now, everything's moving. Well, the geese haven't really started to move yet, but they will pretty soon. Uh, let's see. All right, Joe, it's wrens like the one I have the thumbnail pic of. The thumbnail pic that I showed there is actually a Eurasian wren. Here around here we have Carolina wrens, but the the bird looks the same. The only difference really that I can tell from looking at comparison pictures is really in the coloring of the feathers, the pattern in the feathers. It's the same colors, just a little bit different patterning from the Carolina wren. You have uh, more pronounced black and white on the head, but the beak is the same, and the head shape and the eyes are the same. That little tiny tuft of tail on the back is the same. The little tiny, cute, adorable little round body, all the same. So I'm not sure about what Wren song is supposed to sound like. The last time I had one vocalized near me, it wasn't singing; it was more trying to get my attention. It was sort of chattering at me, and it flew up and landed about. I was going to say about as far as from me to you, but that would be the camera right there, which is almost within arm's reach, not quite within arm's reach. So it landed there, and it was on the railing on the porch, and it just chattered away at me, and I knew what it wanted. I was like, well, give me a minute and I'll get out of the way and you can go get what you want. It wanted me to leave the porch so it could go raid the cat food undisturbed because they really like a high protein diet and there just wasn't really a whole lot of bugs available for them at the moment. Uh, sunflower and safflower to keep the grackles away. As long as you don't have grains, don't put grains in. You can put non-grain seeds in, lots of non-grain seeds. I mean, if you had a large quantity of amaranth, you could put that in for the little tiny birds like the finches, and they'd love that. But grackles and starlings, and even the red-winged blackbirds, the other types of blackbirds, they like grains. And if you don't have grains in your feeder, it won't attract them. They'll find someplace else that has what they're looking for. But if they're there for the grains, they will eat everything else too. Um, the safflower actually is kind of useful for helping deter squirrels from visiting your feeder because they don't like the smell of it. They think it tastes nasty. I don't know. I've cracked one open. I've eaten it. It didn't seem bad to me. Safflower oil is a fairly nice oil for doing things like salad dressing. So as an oil seed, it's okay too. Crackles are French fry words. Yeah, you find them in the parking lot at McDonald's all the time, or Walmart, or wherever, just walking around with that weird look that they have, just looking over you like, strange looking bird. Parking lot birds. Yeah, when starlings swarm, it's impressive. There's a lot of them. Cedar waxwings passing through. Why is it that the really pretty ones they don't want to hang around? Well, I mean, we get the cardinals here. They want to nest, but the goldfinches, they're pretty, nice yellow bird. I like if they stayed and nested. The buntings would be nice if they stayed and nested. No, but they just want to come and eat and run. So we just grab a bite to eat and leave. We'll just like go, wow, look at that pretty bird as it goes somewhere else. Vicky says that their woodchuck has awoken for the season, and you guys are about the same latitude as we are. So, yep, I should look around and see if any of ours are trying to wake up. Um, I think we've managed to get rid of most of them. I think. I don't know. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. I've filled in all the burrows. I've covered up all the holes, and I haven't seen any since maybe last spring. So, knock on wood, we've scared them all off, and they won't come back to destroy things. Because this year, I'm running some squash trials, and I do not need additional pressure from a groundhog coming around munching on my squash whenever I'm trying to grow up. We're going to try to grow zucchini. I know I never grow zucchini. We're going to grow yellow crickneck. We're going to grow some Waltham butternut, and we will grow regular Waltham butternut, not the Ponca stuff. I'll presume, or I'll resume chasing the Ponca maybe after these experiments are done. I want to try a squash that I know I can plant and grow, not one I'm struggling with. So we'll have butternut squash, and then I am going to experiment with Seminole pumpkin this year. So I have Seminole pumpkin, the butternut. Those are our winter storage squashes, and then of course we've got two summer squashes, zucchini and yellow crickneck. And the reason I'm doing zucchini and yellow crickneck, as some of you guys know, is I'm working on a formula to defeat the infamous vine borer moth. And I've got this much progress so far. This is what happens when you put 30 milliliters of wood vinegar and 30 milliliters of Texas red cedar oil in the same container. Now, earlier today, I took this jar and I made sure it was tight, and I shook it up. And I shook it up, and I shook it up, and I shook it up, and I shook it up. And if you shake it up just a little bit, you can see little tiny balls. Well, maybe you can, maybe you can't. You see little tiny balls. Yeah, you can see them. Little tiny balls there. That's the vinegar that's starting to separate out of the oil, right? So you shake it more. And you just shake it a lot, right? You want to get it really agitated. Here we go. This is what I did earlier. And if you shake it up really, really well, see all those little bubbles disappear, and it gets this nice, creamy, even consistency. That's nice. But if I leave it sit here for a while, perhaps even by the end of this live stream, it will separate it out again. And I can put it in these little canisters, and you can shake well before using, and I suppose we could do it that way. But I kind of want this to have a bit of a tackiness to it. I want it to be thick enough that whenever you take the dauber or the brush applicator, whichever one works the best, and you apply that around the top of your corn ears to stop the cornworm from coming in. I suspect it may actually stop a grasshopper from landing there and eating the silks too, but we'll find out as spring approaches. Well, as spring gets here. And you can also take it and put it on your squash vines to stop the vine borers. Hopefully. If it works as intended, then that's, well, I guess for next year, a new product that we'll have. But I have to come up with some way, and you notice the bottom is starting to get dark, right? I have to come up with some way to make sure that the wood vinegar and the cedar oil stay in emulsion. And I'm not going to use egg yolks and make mayonnaise. So I've got, because really that's, use no, not egg yolks, egg whites. Use egg whites, oil, and vinegar. You make mayonnaise, right? Well, we're gonna find an emulsifier. It's probably not gonna be egg whites, but part of the process that will probably remain somewhat secret is exactly what I wind up using for an emulsifier. The thing that I have in mind is not the cheapest material, but it's one that I can guarantee is non-toxic, and we'll work along with that wood vinegar whenever it does wash off of the plant and goes into the soil. It'll work with that wood vinegar to feed the soil microbiome and increase the growth rate of plants in the immediate area. So it'll be a growth stimulant as well. Anyway, Scott was saying safflower is easy to grow, but not in quantities needed to feed birds. Yeah, I noticed that. I got a few plants that popped up, and the heads are just tiny little things, just maybe a little bit larger than a quarter, $half size. Just yeah, not very large at all. I think that's the people at the church over next door that I'm hearing. I'm hearing a diesel engine idle. They have meetings on Wednesday nights. So sometimes if I hear odd noises, I have to check the calendar and go, "Oh yeah, they're supposed to be there." Low and slow roasted woodchuck would probably taste pretty good. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Vicky. You will not have any vegetables ever again. uh, yes. Okay. So Joe is saying he saw goldfinches down there. He's in southern Mexico. Um, I think it's southern Mexico, right? Um, Notice that the goldfinches were down there. Yeah, they're migratory. They go all the way down south to avoid the winter. They're like me; they don't like it cold. So that's for saying. I think his no, they don't. I'm pretty sure they don't. Well, I don't know. You you might have some weird ones. They always pass through here. Then again, Illinois might be like one of their stops, like where they actually stop and they don't migrate further than that. They might get up to Illinois, stay for the corn, stay for the wheat, stay for the barley, stay for the millet and the milo, and then take off again whenever pickings get slim. But they never nest here in Oklahoma. That's cool. So Caroline Wren nestling came into the house last year, and the nest was in the muscadine vines. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, they like to find little bits of cover to build their nests in. Although I would think that your muscadines would be so well pruned that they wouldn't think about nesting there, unless maybe it was like right there at the T where where the vine comes up and then splits. That spot would probably have a lot of material to hide a nest in. I would think. Sean says really close to getting that. Hey, I don't know if it's going to be this next video that I put out or one after. I do need to go ahead and make that video showing off what the stove can do. The wood stove that I just picked up. It's a wood gasifier. I don't think I've shown it to Scott, have I? You haven't seen this thing yet, have you? All right. Quick teaser. It's right over here. At least part of it is. And let's get over this way here. All right. So this is the bottom part of the stove that Sean's talking about, right? It's a wood gasifier stove, so it uses a basket that goes inside here, kind of like your chimney lighters that you use for starting up your grill whenever it's grill season outside. Anyway, so your fuel goes in here, and there is. Let me turn it around so it's facing you. All right, so there's a switch right here on the front that runs a fan. This is the cord that goes to it. I'm charging up the power supply at the moment, so we're not going to turn it on. But yeah, well, it's it's 3 position switch. It has low, off, and high. And this is a 5-volt DC fan. Runs off a USB port. And the idea is once you've got it lit from the top, the air blows up and it causes the wood gas to burn at the top, just like you were burning on a gas stove. So you're cooking with gas. It's just gas that's being released from the wood as you're turning it into charcoal. Whenever you're done cooking, you've got charcoal. So it's a wood gasifier stove. And I don't know where I put that. the middle basket. It's around here somewhere. We'll be doing a video on that thing pretty soon because having this lets me go out and do. It's going to let me go out there and do cooking videos outside, anywhere. Now I know I could just go and fire up the grill, and that's great. I mean, sometimes you want to cook stuff that needs a grill, or I could cook in the fire pit out there in the grape arbor, and that's great too for whenever you need that much fire. But whenever you're just trying to make some tea or scramble some eggs or do any number of other basic everyday cooking chores that really only require that you fire up one burner, then firing up the entire grill to do that is just wasteful of fuel, and it's more work than I want to get into. But of course, I like to cook outside in the summer because I don't like to pay for electricity to cool the house off. So this is going to let me cook outside, be able to cook just breakfast, right? Just breakfast without having to fire up the grill and without having to heat the house up. So it's going to be really fun. I'll get that actually properly reviewed for you sometime this next week, I guess, whenever the bad weather passes by. I'd like ultimately to put put it into I was going to say concealed, an enclosed area with a carbon monoxide detector to see if it's hazardous or not. I would ordinarily say, yeah, anytime you're going to be burning any kind of wood fuel, have a well-ventilated area. Don't burn it inside your house without ventilation. It's not going to work out well. But I'd really like to see what kind of carbon monoxide production this thing has, since it should be doing a mostly complete burn. And extra oxygen is being fed into the process. So producing carbon monoxide probably won't happen, but I'd still like to check it anyway. Sasspress Red says he's got a whole lot of amaranth now. Vicky says, got lots of whippoorwills she enjoys. I used to hear those a lot when I was a kid. I don't hear them here. A little bit further down the river from here is where I heard them. They might still be there, but I haven't heard them in a long time. Of course, Sean says he's glad that they don't have them because can't sleep. Whippoorwill, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. And yeah, and they always have to go whenever it's dark out. Like, okay, we get the idea. Can you go to bed? Because I'm trying to. Amy is asking if we ever grown himica here in Oklahoma. I have never tried it. Himica is one of those veggies that I'm a little bit scared of. I know it's supposed to be okay, but it's one that I have not had a lot of personal experience with, and things that I have not had a lot of personal experience with, I want to research a lot before I try to get into growing it or cooking with it and stuff like that. So I haven't experimented. I do have some yacon coming, so there's some odd things. Yacon and aca, those are the two Peruvian root vegetables that we got coming in this year. Sometime. I haven't received an email telling me when the delivery is going to be, so we're just sort of twiddling our thumbs and waiting and hoping it gets here before spring is actually really here. Oh, I'm so sorry, Scott. Lots of beautiful birds pass through, and then it's grackles, starlings, and mockingbirds. Oh no. The mockingbirds around here have learned how to mimic car alarms. So occasionally you'll hear one going whip whoop whoop whip wee wee wee. All right. So Scott, yeah, I will. I'll tell you what. Once I get the formula figured out, I'll send you a bottle and you can try it out and see if it works. I've got two different types. I've got the dauber like this, and where got the other one? Oh no, I'm losing my mind. Where did I put it? Where did it go? Oh, Kitty, have you seen it? Oh, there it is. Okay, dauber like that, and we've got the rubber cement type brush like this. So we've got stainless steel cans, non-toxic insect repellent, and hopefully I can get it to mix. See, it's already separated, right? You guys saw me shake it. So hopefully I can get it to so it will stay emulsified and stay tacky, and it will stick to the plants and not wash off easy. If I can get survive at least one rain event without getting washed off, I think I'll be fairly happy. Other than that, who knows how long it could last? A week, perhaps, without having to. My terrible tasting mayo. Yeah, these essential oils are not cheap. They're not cheap, but ooh, that's a good question. Would beeswax work? Not as an emulsifier. Honey might work as an emulsifier. Beeswax actually might work as a physical barrier if you wanted to find a way to coat the vines to physically stop the borer from laying the eggs. But at the moment, I'm thinking maybe we can stop the borer from ever landing in the first place. I've seen some. I don't know if they were bumblebees or not, but solitary bees that were all over safflowers while they were growing. They seem to like them. Kimber said, "I didn't notice that sound until you said something." It's like you have heard them, haven't you? There's nobody around here in this neighborhood that has that kind of car alarm. So that's a mockingbird making that sound. I've checked. Sometimes I've been hearing this meow, meow, meow. I'm like, okay, where's that cat? And I'll look up, and there he is, sitting on a wire, mockingbird. Meow, meow. Then Vicky is saying soap or detergent is often used to emulsify mixtures and can help with their effectiveness. I've considered using some sort of a detergent as a surfactant. Um, and if I did, I would want to use something that was a pure soap. I don't necessarily want to use ivory. That means I probably have to make it myself. So hopefully I don't have to make it myself. But we'll see. We will see something. I'm gonna have to find something that I can use. It's not going to be egg whites. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be egg whites. I do have an awful lot of duck eggs, don't I? Maybe this is the use of the egg whites. We're gonna take our duck eggs. We're gonna separate the egg whites from the yolks. Oh, there we go. We're gonna whip the egg whites and we're gonna very carefully beat them into the oil and vinegar mixture until ching, Jason's terrible tasting mayo. Actually, whenever I shook it up and had it thoroughly emulsified and dipped a little bit and tasted it, it wasn't bad. Kind of smells like a barbecue. I don't know if it will, but it might actually work as well as Billy's bone sauce for driving deer away. I don't know. Hmm. Oh, the jar's leaking. Now my hand smells like a barbecue pit. All right, Kimber's saying from the sounds, the truck lead was probably so maybe that diesel noise idling earlier was not the churchgoers next door with Wednesday night service, but maybe a late delivery. Oh, better check. I do have more trees coming, so as soon as we get off here, I'll go double check and make sure. Scott, oh yeah, that little it's very very portable. It's lightweight, strong. I could probably stand on it. You could probably stand. Well, I could probably stand on it. Just kidding. You could probably stand on it and not break it. In any case, you could put a huge pot of chili on there, right? Enough to feed a whole camp. And you could run it off of another portable power supply. And the thing I really want to do with it is get this. I get this little infrared thermometer on it, and Your screen is 77 degrees. Ah, I want to get this thermometer out and find out where it's leaking heat from and possibly re engineer the thing uh, with the intention of harnessing that waste heat and using that to recharge it. So basically putting a TEG circuit into the thing, and so the device would just charge itself whenever you cook dinner. It charges its own battery and probably charges your phone and maybe a few other things too. Maybe some camp lights might be nice. If I could figure out how to make that version of it and make it available for sale at a decent price, I might consider it. Or going back and finding the original engineers that put together that particular stove and going, hey, want to do a version 2? All right, Sean's taking off. Good night. We'll see you later on. I don't know which video I've got coming out on Sunday. I don't know whether it's going to be the mulberry pruning, which is it's an okay topic. Yeah, coffee on a mustache. It's an okay topic, but I don't know. I was looking at other things. Let's see. Where are you at? My horribly scratched notes here. Let's see. Videos. We did the adding shrimp in. 7 incomes for micro homestead. What do you think? Maybe do that one next. Let's see. HOA friendly biochar with the new camp stove. A more in-depth video on multi-species flocking. Talk about that some more as a regular video. I have to put a new fence for the ducks. I might video that process. So lots of different stuff that I could be doing. The thing about the mulberry pruning video is I want to hold on to this footage and I want to just put it to the side, which means I have to store it somewhere for a few months. But if I do that, then I can take that and combine it with more footage later on in the year as the mulberry tree begins to fill out after I've done the pruning. And then you can see the effects in how it grows and how it produces fruit after a pruning like this. So I might want to just hold on to that and present it a little bit later on. I don't know. Guys, let me know in the comments what do you think. Should I just show what I've got or just hold on to it, show something else later on this week, and then later on here in another few months, or shoot, maybe whenever we start getting fruit on the tree later on this year, that's whenever we can go ahead and produce that video. And I'll be like maybe priming people ahead of time for next year. Timing videos is kind of weird in gardening, right? Because the time of the year that you need to do things is pretty much the same, unless I'm producing video content for people watching from the other hemisphere, from the southern hemisphere. Whenever I'm gardening, everybody else is too. So if I'm going to do one thing, chances are you're running out of time to get it done yourself. So most of the videos that we make, realistically speaking, should be released, well, right about now, actually. We should be shooting our spring videos and holding on to them and releasing them just before so they can be useful. But then I wouldn't have anything to show you. Mockingbirds, he says, worst for singing outside the window at 3 a.m. Oh. You're gonna have to do something like get up at 3 a.m. and play some sort of hymns or something out the window to them. And then whenever they hear the music, maybe they'll pick it up and they'll start mimicking it. And then at least at 3 a.m. you're being awakened by music and not just maybe, I don't know. The problem with mockingbirds is they mimic so many different things, right? Vicky has some of the best stories, I swear. Right. Stop. Yeah, stopping the borer moth from landing, I think, would be the best way to get it. How the garden got chicks today? Oh my goodness! Watch out! Everything wants to eat chickens. I'll bet. Yeah, he probably just licks it right off. Yeah, something. Red on the head, belly on the wings. That sounds like a house finch. Actually, we get those too. So it's a red-headed finch. It's just mostly brown. Whenever they're first born, their first year, they're mostly brown. The females are always mostly brown with just a little tiny bit of red on them, and then the reds have a more distinguished red head, red belly. But I think I don't know. I see them all year round here. Wow, that's actually quite a bit for what would otherwise be a fairly common bird. But shoot, I mean, some places they eat parrots because it tastes like chicken. It makes them shut up. I mean, a parrot can be an agricultural pest. It really can. Mm. More duck videos, you think? Okay, well, we can do some more duck videos, especially whenever I get that fence up and around. I can show you where they're going around where the garlic is. All the garlic is planted in these raised beds with mulberry trees coming up out of the middle. So the mulberry tree will grow, drop its leaves, and the mulberry, since it likes to accumulate sulfur out of the subsoil, will put that sulfur in the leaves so it enriches the soil for the onions and for the garlic and the other stuff there. But I've been allowing the ducks to graze over there. Okay, the ducks have been escaping out of their pen on a routine basis, and I have not been able to stop them. But but I had intended to allow them to go over there and graze in amongst where the garlic is. And my hope, crossing my fingers, was ducks won't like to eat garlic if they've got other stuff that's tastier to eat nearby. And so far, that's been the case. They haven't eaten the garlic. I've got daylilies coming up right next to that, and they're just starting to come up. And I don't know yet whether they're going to be nibbled on by the ducks or not, but we're going to keep an eye out for that. Also, as things are starting to break down dormancy, I want to make sure I have some canna lily out there where the ducks are. So when those shoots come up early in the year, I know they're high in protein. I don't know if the ducks know that they're high in protein, but it's possible the ducks might nibble on those. And if they do, maybe that's a way I can work in a little bit of extra feed for the ducks. Or maybe that's something that I'm going to just have to keep the ducks out of until it's high enough that they can come in amongst it and they won't destroy it. Kind of the way we handle corn. It's just we keep the ducks out until the corn's high enough. One of the famous poems written by the sleeping coyote, right? Uh, really? Nesahualcoyotl? I'm probably butchering that, right? Dedicated to the mockingbird, bird of a thousand voice. Uh, I mean, for a trickster, being able to mimic voices would be quite the thing, huh? Ooh, 10 foot by 24 foot greenhouse. Is it going to be earth sheltered on the backside, make it a Chinese greenhouse, or is it one of the more normal ordinary types? Please tell. What's fun about his stories is they're all true. What about the lies? What about the lies? Oh, especially the lies. So in Texas, you really can't kill a mockingbird, huh? Here, birdie, birdie. Yeah, I had a. I don't know if I have the photos anymore. I'm sure I've got them somewhere. I have some very old social media profile pictures from whenever I had a parrot. Yes, I had a parrot once. Yeah, as in it would sit on my shoulder. I had a parrot sitting on my shoulder. It was a Quaker parrot, and Quakers are just little itty bitty, tiny little parrots. They're bigger than parakeets. They're smaller than conures, and they're mostly green and gray, and they talk up a storm. I mean, they talk a lot. Problem is, most of the time, whenever they're talking, they mutter under the breath like Popeye in an old cartoon. And if you listen to them and you pay close attention, you go, "Oh my goodness, they're actually saying things," but they're like muttering it under their breath, which is just weird. So they actually do speak. They understand language. They're not exactly fluent conversationalists, um, but they do construct sentences and curse and do other things. I think I want to say it's in Venezuela. It might have been Argentina, um, maybe even both. Down in South America, they have sometimes shows where people will have their Quaker parrot that they brought in. They've taught to say different things, and part of the variety show is listening to the crazy things that people's parrots have been taught to say. Ours would say, "I'm the baby, gotta love me, give mommy kisses," stuff like the usual stuff. Uh, Feed me. He knew feed me, but trying to get him. He never would say it all at the same time. I was trying to. Do you remember the old TV show from the 19? I think it was the 1980s. Dinosaurs wasn't on long. Uh, the baby in the show would say, "I'm the baby, gotta love me." That was his line. Well, we taught Cupid the parrot how to say, "I'm the baby, gotta love me," and he'd usually do, "I'm the baby, I'm the baby, I'm the baby, gotta love me." So he wouldn't do the entire phrase all at once, but he'd do it in parts. And eventually, you'd get it out. Yeah, ducks currently are going under the fence, and sometimes over the fence. I mean, they are birds; they can fly. So our new fence is going to have the bottom of the fence buried so they can't go under, and I might have to go ahead and double the height so they can't go over. Maybe we'll see. Hey, Vicky's saying that sulfur will increase the potency of peppers. So what I should do is go ahead and plant some cayennes out there. You think? I still have the better part of a pound of cayenne peppers from like 2 years ago. You guys remember the year that I got everything hardened off? This is the year I had that hoop house. I got everything hardened off and planted, and then just immediately afterwards, we got hit with a snowstorm, ice storm, or unseasonable cold, or it was late frost. I don't know. It was right around, I think it was right around Easter 2 years ago, somewhere around there. And frost hit, and everything died down to the ground. I was like, "Oh, great! I've just lost everything." But that was the first year that I had experimented with adding the wild root organics. This is not an advertisement. It just happened to be wild root organics, mycorrhizal inoculant to those peppers. And you can use any other brand mycorrhizal inoculant. I'm not saying you have to use that particular. That's just the one I used. But the result was everything grew back from the roots, and I wound up getting a great harvest of peppers before it was all over. But I was certain that I had messed up and lost all of my peppers, and I had like 12 cayennes. I had 12 of the bell peppers, about 24 tomato plants that year. It was a massacre. The tomato plants never did quite produce, but the cayennes were okay. They managed to bounce back. Really? Okay, Joe's saying there's a bird here about the size of a mockingbird with darker plumage and a curved down slender beak called a huitlacoche. And they also sing beautifully and have a big, is that about right? That huitlacoche? Huitlacoche? I think that sounds about right. And they sing beautifully, have a big demand on the market. Isn't that also corn smut? Oh, let's see. All right, so the one that Vicky's building right now is up on the ravine bottom, so it's 1.5 zones difference. You're in, I want to say 6B. No, 7, 8. It's Arkansas. So it can't be that. No, 8B. Probably 8B. So right into 9. Woohoo! Oh, awesome. I was never taught. I was not never taught how to speak uh, North American properly. Unfortunately, I don't think. I don't think even if I spent more time at the reservation when I was a kid, it would have helped anyway. Because my ancestors were Cherokee and they came from a different place. Even in the old stories, they weren't originally from North America. They landed here. Um, Either prior to the event that made the Carolina Bays or just after it. I think prior to it, it was one of the other apocalypses that had occurred that had caused them to leave where they had been living and settled in North America. Um, might possibly be one of the reasons why sometimes whenever people do DNA tests on Cherokee, they wind up with strange haplogroups that belong in Asia, not like crossing the Bering Strait Asia. We're talking down around the Fertile Crescent area. It's quite possible that that same culture that they came from had spread off in other directions whenever they lost their original settlement wherever that was. But those stories are so old that I don't know of too many people who tell them anymore. Okay, so in name, nominally in zone 6B. Okay, so 6B, then we go to 7. Okay, maybe approaching 8 with that greenhouse. So with maybe a geothermal greenhouse, at least half of it sunk into the earth, you should be able to hit a zone 10 and hold it if you wanted to. Yeah, if you can keep your climate going throughout the winter, you can keep your peppers. I've got sweet potato vines that have been going all winter. They're about to die because they haven't been getting a whole lot of sunlight at all. They're just staying on life support. Um, Probably tomorrow, one of the projects I'll get into, and this might wind up going in a video as well. Good night, good night, Ken. I'm getting ready to take off too. Tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and get these guys put into potting mix. I've got it sterilizing right now, so I had to pour boiling hot water over it to make sure that any fungus gnats or other nasty stuff was in there, dies off before turning these guys loose. And I'll probably clip our Murasaki sweet potato vines that we've got into segments and get them started there as well. Well, if they don't get any, Scott, if they Scott's saying the sweet potatoes never go away. If they don't get any sunlight, which is where they're at right now, during the first part of the winter, the back room that they're in, this is the only room that I have where I can put anything that gets any sun at all from the south during the winter. So I've got one little tiny window. And early on, the sun's tracking to the point where it hits it fairly well. But here towards the the later part of the winter, the sun is now starting to move a little bit, and the angle that it comes in for that particular room, it's not a great alignment. And so this is the point of the year where if I don't get supplemental lighting or something on those vines, they're not going to make it. So Joe is saying Cherokee originally from Asia Minor, Fertile Crescent. Well, no, not originally from. See, I think this is where people are making the mistake. The Cherokee story was something that happened to their civilization. They had developed a technologically advanced civilization. I don't know how technologically advanced, but they'd said that they come up with a device that they referred to as the white light device. Using the white light device caused their civilization to be destroyed. The Cherokee that wound up in North America got on boats, fled the destruction of their civilization, landed here. Now here's the funny part. They also have a story about the time that the waters rose, and it's tied to the reason why the Appalachian Mountains are shaped the way they are. So that one might be a just so story, but it seems likely that they were present at the time that the Carolina Bays Reform, probably likely that they saw the fire coming down from the sky and would have witnessed the flood event as well. And that would have been probably around 12,800 years ago. So they were already here then. So I don't know. Anyway, Scott's taking off. I'm getting ready to take off too because it's getting to be about that time. All right. Did I cover everything? I think I covered everything. I managed to actually get through this without ever mentioning what were the things that we weren't going to mention. The Nord Stream pipeline, police brutality in Memphis, or balloons. Yeah, the world's crazy these days. I'll tell you what, it's hard to keep track of it all. I'm just going to grow a garden. Good night, everybody. That's all I've got for you. And until then, get out there and get growing.